What's up anomalies, my name is DecoyZ and welcome to another video. Deltarune is back with Chapter 2 and with it comes a mass amount of new lore for us to look at. Now from this point on, there's going to be a spoiler alert. If you haven't played Chapter 1 or Chapter 2, go do that. They're free. It's a very fun game because I will be spoiling a lot of things just for this video. It is a theory video. I'll be spoiling some stuff. Chapter 2 has given us a massive look into the upcoming story of Deltarune, including how we will be able to go to different dark worlds with each chapter, or at least I'm going to assume it will kind of repeat this process of each chapter is a different dark world. It also teaches us that Kris is the one that is making them, and that Ralze is definitely not a Darkener, although that last part is a bit more theoretical. Maybe if this video does well, I might do a whole video about Ralze and just all of the evidence that why he isn't a Darkener. Now onto the actual theories. Why do I say the main villain will be Kris? Because I think it's semi-obvious that the enemy of this game is not the Queen, not Gaster, but specifically Kris. Why do I say this? Well, throughout the game in both Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, Kris and the player have been seen as completely different entities. This is clear in the Chapter 1 finale where you control the soul in the cage and Kris seems to move around on their own. And this happens again, in fact multiple times in Chapter 2. What is this relation between these two entities? Like, why is the soul there and how can Kris take it out of their body? Well, remember the character creator? Remember how you created a vessel, a body for your soul to inhabit into? This suggests that the soul is the player and Kris is a different character overall. After all, a bunch of characters mention how Kris acts different than usual, seeming almost like a zombie. This is because our soul is in Kris and is controlling them. But how do we know that for sure? Well, since we can't control Kris as a character when the soul is in the cage or in the couch cushions, it's safe to assume those two things have some sort of link. Second of all, we can read characters' inner monologues. In the Snowgrave route, it's assumed that dialogue in the parentheses are in the characters' heads, but not spoken aloud. But in multiple situations, we can make Kris respond to something that Kris didn't hear, but we did. There's also more evidence in the teas. If Kris drinks Ralze tea, it heals a tiny amount compared to the others. Kris seems to give no reaction from the tea, but what about all the subtle romance options you get throughout the game for Ralze? Do those mean nothing? Well, in a way, yes. Remember, the player is deciding those things, not Kris. They aren't in control anymore, it's us. Which might backfire and mean we're the main villains, but I couldn't decide on a title, so I just went with Kris. And hell, if we turn out as the players to be the main villains, it makes just as much sense. But Kris still has a little bit of control over their body / subconscious, meaning that the tea wouldn't heal if in reality they didn't like Ralze, while the player, aka Soul, did like Ralze. And one final small example, back to the Snowgrave route, at the very end of the Neo fight with Spamton, you call for help from your friends. You call, which is usually a loud thing, to call someone's name or their names, but when it comes to Noelle, you whisper. Which is strange, right? Maybe Kris whispered Noelle's name because Kris didn't actually agree to the Snowgrave route. Kris didn't want to hurt Noelle, and isn't comfortable with what's happening, but has to at least say Noelle's name as the player decided it. So, we are controlling Kris using them as a vessel. Well, actually back to vessels. Remember how after designing your own vessel the screen goes black and you're interrupted? A different voice this time, not the one that guided you through the vessel creation process, which may be Gaster, different theory, different time. That voice that said no one can choose who they are in this world could be multiple things. My first hunch is that it's Kris's voice, being angry at you for taking their body, although the dialogue is a bit weird in that context if it's Kris speaking to you, since it kind of seems like the person that's speaking to you is almost doing this to punish you, or is almost doing this to prove a point to put you into a specific body. Did Kris put you into their body, or did they just say this after they figured it out? Could they have spoken to you? And how long have you actually been in their body? My hunch / assumption is that since we are the soul, the player is the soul, the soul has only been in Kris's body for as long as we see on screen, which means we enter Kris's body right smack bang in the middle of their life, interrupting a lot of things. They'd be pretty mad. My second hunch is that this voice is Kara. The text is similar, the whole situation of the completely black screen is similar, and a lot of people have pointed out that maybe this is Kara. Again, with how Toby is treating this game, it might not be connected to Undertale so heavily. But I'm calling bullshit on that. The fact that Gaster is such a clear future character makes me sure 100% that this and Undertale are deeply connected. I have an entire different theory about how they're connected using the Gaster egg and also the machine in Sans' lab and just a bunch of random stuff, and how we can kind of prove that this is not a completely separate universe, or at least that they are somehow crossing over in some way. But again, that's for a different day. Maybe if this video gets, I don't know, like 100 likes, I might do a different video talking about the deep-seated connection between Undertale and Deltarune and how they're not just separate games. Toby, I love how you're trying to take it slow and, you know, oh, Undertale was so popular, it's scary, but I'm not believing your little bullshit for a second. You can't trick me, old man. So now we know that Kris is being controlled by the player, based on how they tear the soul out, probably against their will. Now, it's on the title and thumbnail, so why do I think Kris is the final villain? Well, from Chapter 1 and 2, we see heavy setup, the Chapter 1 nice cliffhanger, and Chapter 2 ending with Kris being revealed as the Knight, which I think by definition is kind of being a bad guy, since Rousey keeps talking about how the fountains are gonna blah 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 and then kill everybody. Either Rousey's lying and he's the villain, and making the fountains is good for the people, or he was right and Kris is just being a dick. Now, there is an interesting dynamic here. See how when we destroy the fountains, it's our souls that do it, not Kris. It's us controlling Kris to destroy the fountains. I mean, Kris made the fountains, why would they destroy them? It's because it isn't them, it's us. For whatever reason, we are going around destroying the fountains, and it's a bit strange how the fountains appeared right after we showed up, or at least more of them do. It seems like either nobody's been to the closet in a very long time, or that portal appeared the night that we took control of Kris's body. Or maybe there are a bunch of dark worlds that have not been discovered by the populace. But why now? Why the rapid increase in dark worlds? Maybe Kris is trying to end the world to stop the pain of being controlled, or maybe we were sent to stop Kris from doing this. But why? Why is Kris making these fountains when they could lead to the end of the world? Well, I have two little mini-theories. The Homesick Theory. This theory is the one that Kris makes dark worlds to have fun, to run away from reality, to escape a life they don't like living. Kris's brother Asriel moved to college, and supposedly they had a really close bond. They don't have many friends, and being the only human must be pretty isolating. Maybe Kris making these worlds to escape to fantasy realms. The first dark world we can see, the closet, may have been made when Kris was bored and tired, maybe even sad or depressed, and they went and hid in the closet, and somehow found a way to create this other world. This theory also gets kinda dark, but not really. So you know how people's appearances in the dark worlds change, and even their persona somewhat? Well, that's them passing into a dark world, but what happens when a dark world is made on top of them, or even from them? What I'm suggesting is that Rousey is Asriel. Just before he moved to college, Kris had to find a way to make him stay, and so in a fit of emotion created Rousey, the only Darkener that can survive in other dark worlds. Now, is Rousey Asriel but transformed from the darkness, or is Rousey a personification of Asriel to fill the void in Kris's heart? Unsure. All I know is Rousey is very different from every other character in the game. He knows a lot about the Dark Worlds, he can survive in other Dark Worlds, which seems like Darkeners can't do for seemingly forever, and seems to talk about Darkeners like a separate species, although at multiple points he refers to them as in we, like in the Queen fight he refers to Darkeners as a we, but in other occasions he does speak about them like they are a separate entity. The Secret Agent Theory. This theory is a bit more of a broader story theory than an examination of Kris themselves. This theory is about how you, the player, are an agent placed, made, or simply transported here by Gaster, for the specific purpose in stopping Kris. Your job is to beat the night by becoming and taking over the night. When your soul breaks, aka when you die, you can continue or give up. Now, give up is quite harsh and would only really be used if you were doing a task. Also, the game over screen has a very similar font and feeling to the character creation screen. My theory is that the game over screen is actually canon. Every time you, the player, gets killed or badly injured, you are sent back to Gaster, where you either continue being reset back to a save point or give up, letting Kris destroy the world. Now, save points are very strange in this game because they don't make any sense. Number one, they are a different coloration from the original Undertale ones, meaning they might be artificial, created by somebody like Gaster. And determination is almost never mentioned in the game. I'm not even sure if it is ever mentioned in the game. Every time you save, it's a different reason, a different purpose. Because you're not really saving from your own determination, you are simply saving as an action. It has nothing to do with your soul, it might have something to do with a third party. Another point to the secret agent theory is the fact that Gaster hangs around, and how somehow the egg that this figure gives you, which I'm pretty sure is Gaster, it's either Gaster or a gag character that will be revealed as, whoa, you thought I was crazy, you thought I was very cool and awesome, but no, I'm a gag character, which I will be angry with. Toby, please do not do that to me. Now, I'm not going to go full depth into the egg, because surprisingly there's a lot of depth about the egg that I'm just not ready to talk about in this video yet. But I do have a few nice little theories surrounding it, so who knows, maybe I can make these Deltarune theories into a series. I'll see how well this video does. But anyways, Gaster is around. There's no denying that his hints are everywhere. He's very important to this game, we just don't know how. And with Gaster probably being the voice in character creation, you and him are on at least neutral, if not positive terms. So, could we be the good guys sent to thwart the evil knight in their attempt to end the world? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. The Future of Deltarune. Now that we know Kris and the Soul are seemingly at odds, one creates the fountains while the other destroys them, what does this mean for Chapter 3 and beyond? How is this game going to end? I'm not confident enough to answer those questions, exactly, but I can give you my best guess at the time. I think Kris is becoming desperate, making a fountain in their own home, maybe to trap the variables, the other characters, or for some other strange reason. We may get Toriel as a playable character in Chapter 3 since she was in the living room, meaning she'll be in the Dark World with us next time. My prediction for Kris's mental state is that they will get more and more desperate, getting enraged at how we keep destroying their fountains. Maybe then they try to get rid of us for the last time. However, somewhere in the trash heap that they throw us is a discarded vessel, ready for us to use. After all, where did the original vessel go? Remember how in Undertale, putting in your name did not change the main character's name, but instead changed the first human. This is probably what's going to be happening in this game. The name you chose does affect the game already. It names the town after you in the Dark World, in the closet. But I think this name and this vessel that you create is going to come back in a different way towards the end of the game. Maybe you, the soul, somehow find a different vessel that was the one you originally created. I mean, after all, in Chapter 2, we get a lot of callbacks for things we created in Chapter 1, like the tank. So why wouldn't that just be a theme throughout the game, continually referencing things that you made in the past, eventually the last chapter referencing the first thing you ever did in the game, create a vessel. So Kris stops being the main character and begins to be the main antagonist at some point, maybe even for just the final chapter. And that's my little theory, that's my little thing of why I think the main villain of Deltarune is going to be Kris. And of course you don't have to believe any of this, it's not like I take my own word as gospel. I think a lot of it is really circumstantial and we don't have any of the evidence that we actually need to make a really good theory. We just kind of have to take our best guess and see where it leads us, even though it's going to take a long ass time for us to see the next part of Deltarune, which it's fine. Totally welcome the game, have a good time I guess, but at the same time, I'm going to be like 20 when you release the next part, and I don't stop. Release it sooner, please. I don't want to be old. And I have some other theories. If you guys want to see more Deltarune theories, maybe I could make other videos about it. Maybe I could get back to making videos, because I haven't made a video like this in a while. Maybe I could get back into the flow of it. But I have some theories about Ralsei's true identity, like the true connection between Undertale, and also like a kind of thought thing is Snowgrave canon? Like, how are they going to deal with that in the game for Chapter 3? A lot of people are, yeah, whatever. I'll leave that for the next video if we do get a Snowgrave is canon video. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe so I can see you in the next video. And if I don't see you there, I'll see you in the next life. If I don't see you there, I'll see you on the flip side. And if I don't see you there, I'll see you in the... And one last question. One last thing I want to ask you, the audience. If Kris is uncomfortable with us controlling them, or even if we're enemies, why on earth do they put us back when they're done?